Hello, this is Elon Ackerman for Ackerman Law. Today, we're going to talk to you about child support. In Nevada, child support is set by statute. In particular, Nevada Revised Statute, or NRS 125B.070. That statute provides that payment of child support is set at a percentage of the obligor parent's gross monthly income. Specifically, for one child, the obligor parent has to pay 18% of his gross monthly income. For two children, that percentage goes up to 25% of the gross monthly income. For three children, 29%. For four children, 31%. And then 2% for each additional child thereafter. Okay, so now you know the basic percentages the court will look at in order to set child support. However, the court may also look at the very next statute, NRS 125B.080, to see whether or not there's a reason for deviating from that basic formula. NRS 125B.080 provides a list of reasons for which the court may deviate from the basic percentage. Now, that list can include things like the cost of health insurance for the minor child, or whether the parents have any other dependents for which they are legally obligated to provide. There's also other reasons, like the cost of transportation if the custodial parent has moved out of the state, or whether or not there are any special needs that need to be accounted for on behalf of the child. So take a look at NRS 125B.080 to see whether your situation fits under any one of those reasons, to see whether or not you are due for a deviation from that basic child support calculation. The next question, of course, is who is the obligor parent? Well, quite basically speaking, the obligor parent is the parent that has to pay child support. How do we decide who the obligor parent is? Dad, mom, who is it? Well, in order to understand who has to pay child support, we have to talk just a little bit about custodial designations here in Nevada. Now, we'll talk some more about custody, custodial designations, and how custody is set in this state in another video. For now, we should know that there are two basic custodial designations. A parent may have primary physical custody, or both parents can have joint physical custody. In deciding which parent has primary physical custody or whether both parents have joint physical custody, the court looks at the amount of time the child actually spends with either parent. If the child spends greater than 61% of the time with one parent or another, that parent has primary physical custody. If the child is with both parents, but for no more than 60 to 40% of the time, then both parents will have joint physical custody of that child. Once we know whether the parties have joint physical custody or whether one parent has primary physical custody, then we can figure out who has to pay child support. Who is the obligor parent? Now, in a situation where one parent has primary physical custody, we'll call that parent the primary physical custodian. The other parent would then be the non-custodial parent. In that situation, the non-custodial parent would have to pay to the primary physical custodian child support. The primary physical custodian has no obligation for child support. In a situation where both parents share joint physical custody, then both parents have an obligation to pay child support. Let's take a look at a quick example. We'll use some very simple numbers and just one child to make our calculations a little easier. Let's say I'm the dad and I just separated from the child's mom. The two of us have one child in common and we share joint physical custody of that child. Let's say I make $100 a month and mom makes $200 a month. My obligation for child support would be 18% of my gross monthly income, or $18. Mom's obligation would be 18% of her $200 a month income, or $36. Now, we're not going to exchange checks. I'm not going to send her a check for $18 and have her send me a check for $36. What we'll do is some basic subtraction. We will subtract my $18 obligation from her $36 obligation. That means that what we're left with is mom's obligation of $18, and she would send that check to me. So, to recap, in a joint physical custody situation, both parents have an obligation to pay child support. The parent who makes more money will pay the difference to the parent who makes less money. If I make $100 a month, I pay 18%, $18. Mom makes $200 a month, she pays 18%, $36. $36 minus $18 means that she has to pay me $18 a month. Hopefully now you have a little better idea of how child support is set here in Nevada. However, every situation is unique, and we probably did not cover all of the specifics involved in your particular case. In order to better understand what your rights and your obligations may be in regards to child support, you should sit down with one of the very many qualified attorneys here in Nevada. You can give us a call, and when you do, you can be sure that we will offer you personal, professional representation. I'm Alon Ackerman for Ackerman Law, and thank you.